All right, peace, family. I just woke up and I just want to share some things with you all before my mind started to cloud. Because sometimes when you're dreaming, or what you call dreaming, in this case, I have these monthly paralysis when waking up, and it's got to the point where I can wake up and be in the room for 5 minutes and I still have these paralysis. It's like you can sense when they're coming on because it's like a soothing feeling. And then it comes on slowly, and then these vibrations start to come on. It's kind of weird because I usually have about 1 or 2 paralysis a month, but lately it's been 3 or 4. And I noticed after this eclipse, it's been about 4 or 5. Tonight it was 8, and it's gotten to a point where, first and foremost, when you come out of these things, you can feel a numbness in the back of your brain. It's like it's got something to do with your subconscious because your subconscious is here. It's a numbness, and it's like you've been hit with some type of radiation. Now, from my research of radiation, my individual research of radiation, I know that radiation is not everything that they be teaching us. Radiation can cause trauma to certain parts of the central nervous system, and it can cause things in the brain to do things, whereas if you're awake, these things couldn't happen. So radiation can cause traumatic experiences to certain parts of the brain, like the cerebral cortex. Too much radiation can cause traumatic bonds of chemical compounds to react and send you into a dream-like state. Same thing for whenever you're dying or losing memory and things like that. It's like you switch or you shift to another dimension. You hear, but you shift to another dimension, and you could be in the same room in another dimension doing something differently and still be aware of the people that's here. That's what happened with older people who are dying out. Seeing a light flash before their eyes. They be calling out names that you never heard of. They'll say people, and they'll be like, you'll be like, who is this? But it's not that they're crazy. It's just that they're tapping into dimensions where they've been before in past lives, seeing people that they know that you may not know. And it could very well be, say for instance, a brother whose name was different in another dimension. So if you had a nursing home and you walk in and a person who got Alzheimer's or dementia, they call you another name, right? It's not that you're not that person. It's just that the name that they're calling you was you in another dimension or a past life that they know you as. And this is why I say that everybody that we meet in these lifetimes are people we met before. They just had different names, could have been a different sex, or anything like that. I know this seems crazy, but this is more geared toward a more ancient science. And when you look at the Bible, these are the books that has been taken out of the Bible. You all think that those little weak books that y'all are finding are passages of mysteries that they've been taken out. No, it's more deeper than that. Reincarnation is a big thing in the Bible. They've had books of reincarnation, and they've been talking about reincarnation long before Buddhism and theosophy and things of that nature. So, I mean, even when you go into the Bible, Christ dying and coming back, that is a form of reincarnation. Resurrection is reincarnation. Christ coming back as somebody different, right? When Christ died, and I'm about to get into this situation of God being Christ, because I never understood that part, but I'm about to break that down and give my own theory as to what I think that this whole situation is. But when Christ died and came back, that is a form of reincarnation. And when Christ came back, they said that he had a stronger, brighter light to him and things of that nature. But I know that Jesus didn't exist as a person. But we know that the stories can point to realities that exist in the present time in which is occurring. Now, what I mean by that is, if God said he created man and woman in the image and his image and after his own likeness, then We're not talking about the human or the physical thing that you see, the flesh, because in the Bible it says be down to the flesh. It's talking about the soul, because the soul, we all assume that the soul is shaped like the human body, 2 arms, a head, 2 legs. It's not. The soul does not look like the body. This is what we have been taught and branded to think. The soul is actually in the image and likeness of a higher power, or which we call God. So that means that if God don't die, then this makes sense that the soul don't die. And if you are the soul, that means you don't die. So when God said God couldn't come in that form and had to come in human form, in the form of Christ, right? The energy, which is a more lower form of density of energy, which is physicality, that means that God was able to put himself in a third party. I don't like to use him or she as God, because again, the soul is not a sex. Just as we are not, we are only vehicles of sexes that are carrying on a cycle. And the soul is using this to be able to pick up information, to build other realms of thought, dimensions of thought, dimensions of environments that is seen and unseen. But God coming through Christ, and now this is where I connect this all to us. When I'm sitting here and I'm paralyzed, right, after awakening or just sitting there at nighttime, these moments of sleep paralysis, as they call it, which I think that it's just that a download or upload. You don't know what's over top of your house. You don't know if it's a wheel over top of your house. And as I said, we are not really here. This is always my theory. I don't think that we're here. I think that this brain that we're in is tricking us to make us think that we're here. Because if you can trick the brain, if it's certain type of entities in the body that can trick the brain into making it think that that the body is hungry when it's really not, then the brain is also, or could also possibly be tricked in other areas on a level more higher than the physical. So I always say that we are not really here, but we are being tricked into thinking that we're somewhere else. So think about God being somewhere else, and what they call the figure Jesus in this story, right? In the Bible, in the story, which has a reality to it, but not the way that we see it. So Jesus was not the real person, but God had to come through that. So imagine sometimes if Jesus went to pray, that he had a moment of paralysis, where the God who lived in that Jesus, who came through that body, that flesh, probably wanted to send a download. So when it came down off the mountain or from praying and doing fasting, it can give more information to its disciples or make warnings to other people. Think about what I'm saying. This is not really you. The real you is somewhere watching itself in third person. And sometimes it might have to come back to make downloads because it see that it forgot to put something into what I call the DNA factor. DNA is connected to higher realms. It can be tapped into. It carries information. And what smart way to put information into something is in the genetic material, because there's memory in genetic material. And I think that this thing that we call junk DNA, that they say they can't figure out, as a mystery only to you all, but not to them. I think they know a certain percentage and certain degrees of what's going on in our genetic material. But the real us sometimes will come back and tap into the third party, So, you got this God, or we call it God, this higher force is what you are. You are somewhere that come back to make visits every once in a while, and you have to paralyze the body, because if you are not the body, right, and they want to tap into itself, the thing that's in the body, the soul, it has to turn the body off and paralyze it in order to do what it got to do to make its downloads and leave. And so therefore, we could all be software, right? Not us, but the vehicle that we're using could be software that we use to come through to do certain things. It's just like my son was teaching me when I was in Atlanta. He was like, Dad, you study DNA, but computers have DNA as well, which is the memory and the information. Just like DNA have memory and information, the computer's DNA can be tampered with as well. A virus can get into the computer and tap into that information. and steal that information, just like in your biochemical structure, viruses can enter your DNA and disrupt your DNA and clear out memory and stuff like that. So, yeah, just something to give y'all. Peace.